Join the hosts Freddie and Blake for a glimpse into the extraordinary lives of ordinary humans. Each week, they explore the amazing and complex world of humans by interviewing a guest with a unique and interesting story that they can learn from. Freddie and Blake's goal is to shine a light on the lives of the ordinary folk and show the world how extraordinary their lives can be. We learn from other humans, grow from other humans, and share stories from all walks of life.
Kind of exciting. You can see our faces.
It's a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to, right?
A little bit different. So for this entire time that you guys have been tuning in to Humans Next Door, you've just been listening to our faces and going on Instagram and seeing, or listening to our voices rather, and going on Instagram and seeing our faces. But now we get to see each other live. This is great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's just go ahead and do the intro real quick.
Yes. So why did we start this podcast? To learn from other people, grow with other people, and we do that by sharing stories. Freddie and I have woken up to some truths, and we feel like people are waking up all over the world. And it's time to have some really good conversations. This is Blake Andrews.
This is Freddie Saeed, and welcome to Humans Next Door podcast. Today is actually not January 1st, but we are going to be releasing this in January. So I keep really excited for that. But yeah, really big things. We've had a huge year in 2022, and we're pumped about what's to come. So what I wanted to do is just kind of start off by really thanking all of our listeners and subscribers for an amazing year that we had.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be possible without you. You guys have supported us through every single episode, have been very engaged, sharing this stuff out with your network, with your friends, and that's how we've been able to grow and become.
Thank you so much.
Really, a podcast that has a big future. I was gonna be happy with just a couple of people listening, but
Right, my mom.
kind of over our expectations are it just blew through those.
Yep,
right.
Yep.
And obviously this wouldn't be possible without our guests as well, that sacrificed their time, drove hours and hours, some of them, to meet with us, and
open up their homes, right?
Opened up their homes and also opened up their hearts and shared their stories with essentially two strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some amazing conversations due to their generosity.
Yeah. Well, Freddie, you showed me some of these numbers from last year. Did you get them from Spotify?
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and do it because all of our podcast episodes are released on Spotify as well as other platforms. Spotify gave us the opportunity to take a look at this past year and see, what we've been able to accomplish in just, short 11, 12 months. So I'm going to go through some of the, highlights of it. On Spotify this past year, we released 11 episodes with 1.2 thousand, so 1,200 minutes with 16 different countries where our listeners came from.
What are some of the countries?
Oh, man. Where do I even start? We've had Australia, Philippines, Portugal, Mexico, Argentina. We had Barbados. Yeah, we've had a couple, decent amount of listeners from Barbados, which is not what I was expecting at all. Mexico, already mentioned them. Man, I actually didn't write down all the things I can go to.
Right on.
Anchor and take a look. But so that was like one of the big things, right? We created 1,230 minutes of content. Our podcast was in top 10% most shared podcast globally, which is
that's crazy.
Crazy.
What the fuck?
Not what we were expecting at all. We're in the top 25% most followed podcast. Norway, Canada, Sweden, Czech Republic.
Yeah, Czech Republic.
And obviously United States. I think that's where majority of our listeners are.
Yeah.
And our average rating has been 5 out of 5. Yeah. So I guess we're doing something good.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And we have really big plans for 2023. So this episode is going to be our very first launched in January 1st. Happens to be a Sunday. And we have some really big plans. So Freddie and I both, we make money elsewhere. This isn't how we make money. This is a really fun thing that we get to do in being able to connect with other humans. But I'm not keeping my wife home from work with this. But we have a lot of time invested in this really fun thing But last year was one of those things where we both had ups and downs in our lives, and it's like sometimes we couldn't record for a month or two. Now we're going to be every single week in this studio recording and getting content out there and having great conversations. Freddie's been working his ass off on building out the website. It's going to be really fun. What is it like? Merchandise City over there too, right?
Yeah, so we got some merch that's already ready that people can order that I actually have disabled to ordering right now. So I guess it's not ready.
It's not ready,
Yeah.
but it's.
But
getting
we
ready,
did
yeah.
get a bunch of samples back, and they're good, but I'm not fully satisfied. So in Q1 of this coming year, we're gonna have the full launch of the merchandise as well, so you can take a look at that. And I think the biggest difference that you can expect going forward, besides the fact that we're going to be releasing the episodes every single week, is the fact that we're going to have video, and that wouldn't be possible without the guys at Pouch 6 Studios, Ryan and Jake.
What's up, gentlemen?
Yo, how we
Thanks for having
doing?
us.
Doing
Dude,
good.
this is a long time coming, right? We've talked about this for a couple of weeks, and just really, really pumped to be here, right? So if you guys want to give us a quick, like a 30-second, just like an elevator pitch of who you are and like what you guys are doing here, let's start off with that.
Yeah, definitely. Jake, go ahead.
I'm Jake Sacco. I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. Grew up as a musician, kind of just have had an obsession with learning things my entire life and going through different hobbies and stuff like that. I never expected to have a video production company or a studio. It kind of fell into my lap. It started out as a passion, turned into a career, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
I didn't
Nice.
even mean for that to rhyme either.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay.
26.
Tight.
Nice.
Oh, awesome. Hey guys, my name's Ryan Gallego. I'm the owner-founder of Media Pouch, which is a video production company, and co-founder of Pouch 6 Studios with best friend and business partner Jake. 28 years old, and I have been all around the world filming and working for different corporate clients, and yeah, just really excited to keep on building the media empire here. It started off with the video production company, and then now we're in step 2 with the studio, and we'll see where the next part of the empire goes.
Well, how did you guys meet? So Alabama.
And St. Louis,
Yeah.
is where I grew up. So we shared a mutual client like a little over 2 years ago, and it was for this very unique product that was very intricate to shoot, and took a lot of time and research to figure out how to shoot this thing because it was a holographic reflective material, so it could
Okay.
only be shot at night. And on top of that, we figured out it had to be the right angle of the lenses and the flashes, and Jake had gotten my contact info from the CEO of that company, and he was like, hey, they're obviously shooting this thing pretty well. I want to figure out how to do that. And so Jake just called me one day, and he was like, hey, I'm the other production company that that company is using for content. And he just asked me questions like, how are you guys doing this? What have you figured out? And so it was really cool for him to just reach out like that. And I've always appreciated people who are they have that learn and be curious mindset, and they're not afraid to collaborate with other people, even though it might be competition.
I was gonna say most people don't really want to give out their advice. What?
Sure.
That's a unique thing.
Maybe for those people, but
I feel like the media, I guess the industry is a little bit different. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are willing to kind of share their tricks, and since it is a creative industry, it's everyone kind of has their own style and look, so it doesn't feel like as much competition.
Yeah.
And there's so much work to go around that no one's really worried about you're gonna take up this amount of the industry or the jobs here. I think we did a couple happy hours remotely too.
yeah, definitely. Well, and that's the funny thing. It started off as this just random call to help.
Yeah.
And, Jake and his other business partner O'Malley and Q6, they were just transitioning from college and graduating and kind of taking their next step into entrepreneurship, and they were asking all the right questions of how did you get to this point, and for me, I've always had somebody that was leading the way of like giving insight and stuff. And so I saw that as an opportunity, like, well, here's the do's and don'ts. And if you can take any of my lessons that I've learned and apply them and like skip those headaches, then you'll be so much farther ahead than like where I was at that point. And so it just turned into this kind of like, I don't know, coaching, mentorship, friendship, and
You
then
helped me figure out CRMs
Yeah.
and contracts and shared your contracts that have been drafted by your lawyers with
Yep.
me. And
Yep.
I mean, it's a huge help.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of how it should be, right? Because
for sure.
mindset and mentality of abundance is how we're able to achieve big things.
Yep.
Because if you are in this mindset of like, I just have to keep what's mine
Yep.
and I can't share because the pie is limited,
Yep.
then you're never going to grow. You're never going to be able to meet the type of people that can actually help and benefit your business, because you're always putting yourself first and you're thinking me, 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 me. In reality, if you're putting other people
For sure.
and you're truly taking care of them, I mean, you guys have heard of the saying, all ships rise with the tide,
Yep.
right? So if you truly serve others,
Yep.
which you have been, you achieve things like this, and that's
100%.
beautiful. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Because, that went on for a couple of months of just kind of like online calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And they even like shipped me like, what was it, a 6-pack of beer, 12
Oh,
pack of
that's
beer or
tight.
something?
Yeah.
Like,
Some glasses.
yeah,
That's
like,
tight.
and so then we had this like virtual happy hour and stuff
Okay,
like
that's
that.
where the happy hour comes in.
And
I think we
then,
still have some screenshots of
yeah.
that too.
Yeah, we
That's-
definitely.
You got to get a
Right.
big picture of that. Put it up. That's how it all started.
We actually should. That's a good idea.
That's tight.
So when was this, by the way? How many years ago?
This was like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and then
Wow,
you
it's
guys
still pretty new.
moved to very new because you guys moved to basically like they came down here for a weekend. We were gonna film together. Ended up not happening. We just ended up hanging out, and then I was like, "You guys just need to get out of Alabama. Like you
Yeah.
guys just like
Yeah.
you guys are not gonna scale this company to like where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like in that state. Like it's just
Yeah.
not the right environment. And
I
so
think we were looking at Nashville or Charleston, South Carolina as possibilities, and then Austin. But I think as soon as we got here, it was kind of like my experience with visiting University of Alabama, where I just like stepped into that scene and I was like, this is where I need to be.
The vibe
you
was
know?
right.
I don't
You
know,
felt
man.
it.
I heard Alabama's the next Hollywood.
Yeah, it's just getting up there.
Yeah.
I guess.
yeah.
Cities the size of like 250,000 people.
Yeah, yeah.
they,
Yeah.
they care about film. They hate football over there. That's
That's
right.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that.
Well, and Austin actually is like it's becoming. I mean, it's in its infancy, but it's a possibility that it's becoming a Hollywood. Like, what is this big studio out there in Bastrop?
Yeah.
right?
It was like
I think there's
almost
two
$300
new
million.
huge- Yeah,
Yeah.
huge studios.
There,
coming up.
it's already here. Like people don't realize it, but there's tons and tons of reality shows that are filmed here, headquartered out of here. There's like a few massive like production studios going in both north and south of Austin.
Really?
Yeah, Pouch 6 Studio.
Yeah, we're right in downtown
Yeah,
for right now.
That's right.
And we'll get our big studios.
And that's kind of, that leads me to the next thing of like why we wanted to work with you guys
Yeah.
specifically, right? And really, we did have a couple different options to go. Like
Sure.
we could have built out our own studio.
For sure.
And obviously that has variations as well. We can do something as cheap as $5,000-$10,000, go all the way up to $200,000-$300,000, and have someone else come and do it. You can go rent a bunch of other studios that are now in Austin, right? You can pay them $100-$200 an hour. They'll let you use the space. But what really attracted me to working with you guys specifically is it comes down to, number one, you mentioned the location.
Yep.
Not a lot of people, especially these bigger guests that are busy and they have a lot going on, they don't want to drive to Bastrop. They don't want to drive to Georgetown,
Nope.
Domain. They want to fly in,
Yep.
right? I'm like, okay, where's the studio? Downtown Austin, perfect. My office is there. I have a couple of meetings with, my clients. Let's go ahead and do this for an hour, 2 hours, and I'll go do that. But if they have to take a couple hours away, it just makes it really, really difficult. right?
Proximity is like perfect, dude.
Was that a big reason why you guys chose this location?
Yeah, it was a couple different things. One, location. Like that's always been front and center for me, to just like downtown, and I think for Jake too, is just like having somewhere that's just centrally located, not only for clients but also for us.
Yeah.
So that we can be in the heart of the city and still like, be a part of the community and figure out everything that's going on and be close to that. And we kind of stumbled into this place because my lease was up for Media Pouch at a different place downtown, and this spot was a client of mine for Media Pouch, and they moved out of the space, and then I walked it, and I was like, man, like,
what could we do
this
with this?
This is actually a really, really sound spot. Like, I could see us doing a studio here, and Jake and I had talked about doing a studio like 8 months prior to that, but we just weren't really sure on like where it would go or like how it would come about. And as soon as I walked this though, I'm like, hey, I think I found a spot to do this. Like, do you want to do this? Because like this would be perfect. Like, we can have video studio, photo studio, like a lounge, podcast studio, creative cockpit.
Well,
and so it just all came together really nice.
And how tight is it that it is literally in the heartbeat of like South by Southwest?
Yeah.
You're right here.
Right here.
Dude, everything. You're right here.
Yep.
So somebody's like, hey, I want to go and like, you have some big name guests who are coming through. You've had some podcasts through here. Like, how long? It's only been a year?
They've been here since August, right?
Yeah, we took the lease over August of this year, and then Jake and I built it out for like 2 months, and then we opened the doors to the public October 7th, had our first booking that day.
Bro.
It's now December 10th?
10th.
Yeah, like
11th, yeah.
we're barely 2 months open, and we're already cash flow positive and everything. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
crazy to imagine how quickly you guys were able to build it out. I mean, you do a quick walkthrough, and then in the middle of these particular episodes, we're going to have a walkthrough of the studio. So people that are curious, that are possibly thinking about either needing a space to, shoot, or they need a space to do their podcast, they can see what this place has to offer. But you guys did a lot of work in 2 months. I mean, this would take me a year to build out. And I like to think that I'm pretty good with, like building things, but just having all these lights that are connected to music, where like a DJ can come in and shoot a music video, which is crazy. Like, who's doing that, right? In the small space. A lot of the technology beyond that, which is the AI, which, let's talk about that a little bit. That's
That's
I've
the
never
fun
heard
stuff.
of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because when I was just doing the production side of it with Humans Next Door, man, it was taking me 2 hours for every 1 hour of editing just for the audio. Right?
Yep.
You start adding video to it, I don't know, it would take me a day
Yep.
for a 2 hour
Couple
podcast.
days.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you have to either have someone at the studio while the recording is happening, switch from one camera to another while everyone is there. So that's an added cost. No one is going to do it for free, right? Or have, like, in post-production, 4 or 5 different camera angles and then cut them manually, which, we had this really, really nice guy that, we were considering working with him, and we recorded the video episode just to do a test run. He didn't have an auto switching, so he had someone there that was supposed to do the switching for us, and for whatever reason they had an issue, and we waited 3 or 4 weeks to get the footage from him, and he just couldn't get it to us. He's like, I'm working on it, and then in 3 weeks he got about 20 minutes of it done out of a 2-hour podcast.
But that he didn't only work on that. He just, like, it's a thing, like, our podcast isn't his business. His business is his business.
Yep.
And he had all these other kind of things to do. And so he was like trying to do it, like he finding time for it. But there's, how it is. Whenever you're trying to get a bunch of people in and out of your business, like you have all kinds of moving parts, all kinds of things to think about. I don't have fucking time to deal with this. So that's kind of what it got down to. And it's like, man, if it's that complicated for a fucking professional to do it, how complicated is it going to be for us to learn this shit?
For us with full-time jobs,
Yep.
with responsibilities, he has a family, right? So it didn't seem feasible, and we needed an option that can do everything for us. Like, it's kind of like a one-stop shop. And for me, like, you walk in here and you just feel the vibe of, like, you're gonna have a good experience. You're gonna have a great experience, right?
Yep.
It's like, I can't hear a thing. I'm walking here, my ears are like, am I going deaf? Like, right?
Yeah.
It's just like,
Soundproof.
It's got a very,
Yep.
yeah, you guys did a good job with it. And
This isn't even the podcast room. The podcast room is even more. Is
yeah,
even
this
better.
is just a special setup
Yeah.
for some special guests.
Our lounge.
Don't be asking for this.
Yeah, please.
it's a one-off. So what was the process like setting up and like soundproofing, and how did you guys do that? Because obviously you're very experienced in it.
Yep. I will let Jake talk about all that. Jake
Yeah.
is what I tell a lot of people is I'm more the CEO, Jake's more the CTO, right? And he can build it, I can sell it, and I basically set forth the vision. Jake built out a lot of this stuff and got all of it up and going, so I will let him speak on all of that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So I guess, not even the build out happened quickly, but from idea to execution, when did you call me about the idea even?
I think like a week before I got the lease.
Yeah. So
I thought we were gonna do all this in like a month.
and we didn't even know.
Yeah.
I don't think we knew exactly what we wanted in each of the rooms. Originally, it was going to be like the Q6 office was going to be in where the podcast studio is now, and the media pouch office was going to be where our creative cockpit is now, and then we're going to have some editing desks out here, and it was just pivot after pivot until it just got honed in really quickly, and it was us, debating what we wanted to do with it, bouncing ideas off of each other, things like that. So
you had this vision, but you needed to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, vision, but it
the vision was morphing constantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it probably took us a couple weeks until we really decided what we were going to use each of these spaces for.
For sure.
And then from there, it was just, what do we want to do here? Like, what do we want to do with this wall? We want to make everything smart and easy to use for guests and
pretty.
easy for us to use.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, the addressable LEDs, each pixel is controlled individually. You can program them. But I routed out the channels in there to hide them.
But what does
inside of
routed out the
slat
channels
wall.
mean? Break that down.
Just, pretty much got a tool, learned how to use it to cut slots.
Oh yeah, to
In it.
slide it in.
Exactly.
Yes,
To
okay.
hide the strip back there, and then I had to route out channels for the cables so that you can't see those. Wired everything up to microcontrollers. Loaded, some custom software that'll interface with our smart office system. We use something called Home Assistant, but it interfaces with all the smart devices, and that was just a learning process. I didn't really know how to do any of that before the studio, but YouTube University is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, dude.
You can learn a lot.
Yeah,
there.
You don't get that impression coming in here because it just looks so polished, and I think that speaks to the experience that you guys have and the qualifications you guys have. And really what attracted me is like, hey, I had a meeting with Blake when we were making decisions like, hey, which route do we want to go? I'm like, bro, we have to work with Ryan and Jake. Like, we have to find a way where we can partner up with them, because they're kind of these like media gurus, right?
Yeah.
That you just tap into their knowledge and like, man, I don't know jack shit, right? I feel like I'm learning, right? But at the end of the day, if we want our podcast to reach the masses, because we truly care about human connection and we want people to know how amazing just regular people can be, how capable regular people can be. Look at you guys.
You're not some celebrity.
Yeah.
Nope.
But all the stuff that you've done through your experience, that's impressive. And we want people to know that. And for us to get there, we need people like you guys. I'm like, man, let's find a way to kind of work with them. And then the consulting that you also offer, like we came in, I was just bouncing off ideas with you. Within like 5 minutes, you guys gave us like 3 amazing ideas of how we can grow the podcast, and also suggested a couple of people you can connect us with. It's like, oh, you need help with this is someone we can connect you. And that's like, you built out this network over the years that you've worked with, right? Is that, by the way, like a service that you also offer other people as well, or like, is that something that they can expect? Obviously, I don't want to put too much work on your plate.
I mean, no, we're happy to like connect.
Yeah.
I just love connecting people, and like I think Jake does too. And I'm never gonna charge for that,
And we like building a community around our business, and our businesses. I guess we've already. It's beautiful to connect people and see them grow together, and we've done that already a number of times here, just within the past 2 months of the studio being open.
Yeah.
It's amazing to watch, and it's
Well,
heartwarming.
you hosted the podcast meetup, right? The awesome
Yeah.
podcasters meetup.
Yeah, and that's
You
just
missed
part of
out,
us
though.
like
Really fun.
Dude. I missed out.
being a part of the community, and like one, getting the word out there, but two, just like if you're doing something, you've got to be a part of the community, and like
Yep.
you've got to like add value, like like you got to earn your way in. We're new to the podcast scene, so like we need to cut our teeth on some things and add value and show people that like, yeah, we've got a cool studio, but there's a lot more that we can do too.
That adding value is such a big deal. I think some humans, like Freddie was talking about, as far as the ship's rise with the tide, and some people are just a bit more stingy with their stuff, their knowledge, their experience, or whatever. Man, like it is a shift in our kind of human development. I feel like that more of us understand you have to add value.
Yep.
And if you add value for free, if you add value first,
Yep.
if you go first with investing yourself in them, like the return is so much greater than if you would have tried to psychologically manipulate the situation to get some outcome that you wanted.
Yep.
And like, hey, I got value inside my brain, you should be paying me money for that value.
Yep.
No, man, like, let me just tell you all this stuff. Like, that's
Yeah.
what just happened. And so
Yep.
few people, it seems like in the past, have been that way. And both you guys are that way. Where did that come from? Was it always like we talked a little bit about your history, kindred spirits in the whole, Christian thing.
Yeah.
But not every Christian is very nice, bro. Like so it's not necessarily that. Is it your parents? Is it something that like you just sort of stumbled upon? What is it that makes you guys want to give value, add value all the time?
Mine comes from a couple places. Mine originally started whenever I was 14, and then started working for this sports photography startup called STL Digital. And my boss at the time, I was 14.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm making like $20 an hour, like helping sell photos and stuff, which was already kick ass.
Yeah.
But he showed me, he taught me everything about sales and marketing and videography, editing, photography, bookkeeping, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, like all these things that like I just got the like entrepreneur schoolship like before I even went to college. But what I saw was like I saw all of that. Like I saw like this is how you do business. Like you have to build trust and relationships and be loyal, and you have to add value first before you can ask for something in return, if you even are going to ask for something in return. And so seeing that really young, it was just ingrained in my head. But then also, working at Amazon for 3 years, right? Like they've got some really good principles, and some of those are the biggest one I take forward with me is customer obsession. And it starts with, what does the customer need that's going to make their life easier, and then work backwards. Like don't put it on us, like whatever Jake and I in the studio want to do, like who cares about that? What does the customer need and want that's going to make their life seamless and frictionless in order to work with us? And so that's how we even just came up with the studio, is focused on them first, the customer, and then worked backwards. But that goes into that collaborative mindset, right? Because I've got to now be open to hearing what other people's feedback is and like their constructive criticism. Like if I didn't have a collaborative mindset and I had a competitive mindset, then I would be completely closed off to that feedback, and I probably wouldn't even reach out to those people for feedback. I wouldn't listen to Jake. And there's just that collaborativeness is just hugely beneficial, because those people are always going to tell me the stuff that I'm not even thinking about. And so that's where it comes for me.
Nice.
Yeah, I think mine has just been experience-based, right? Like, I've had a lot of help along my way. People have been very kind and generous with their knowledge, and I've seen how much that's helped me grow. I can learn a certain amount on my own, but learning from other people's experience, like one-on-one, just asking them questions, talking to them, and seeing what they are willing to share with me has, I guess, opened my mind up to that. And then I think also, we're both very customer client facing. We like retaining clients and building, not only a good business relationship, but a friendship out of it. I feel like a lot of the clients that we have in our, like my video production company, have started out just wanting a video, and then, we end up becoming pretty good friends with those people.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing thing to watch them grow, and they help us grow as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it comes from for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's like, to even show like how collaborative it is between like Jake and I, like when they first moved here, what, like Alec hit me up like, what was that, like within 2 months or something?
Yeah,
Like
something like
it was
that.
very early on when like Jake and O'Malley had just moved here. I had this like prospect that hit me up for work, and I was like, probably not the right fit, but I know these guys, and so like basically referred them over to Jake and Q6, and they're still working with this client to this day.
Okay.
And to me, it's like, I don't care necessarily about the money or like losing that client or whatever. It's more so like helping out, adding value, but then also knowing that this will come back twofold when it does. And so now it has come back twofold, because now your guys' client, Alec, who's like really good friend of theirs and stuff, he's also our biggest client here at the studio. You know,
Really?
he's doing like, he's got 4 memberships
Come on.
for him and his clients to come in here and do podcasts whenever. So it's like,
Come on.
that's the collaborative mindset. Like, you might not get that short-term gratification or that result, but knowing how everything works, and as long as you're collaborative and adding value, it will come back. And so like, here we are.
It's like first principles. I mean, like that is like a first principle that is life giving.
Yep.
And I think back, I relate so many things. Like, I'm a fucking dumbass. I don't really, like, the only wisdom that I have is from my life experience and like all the like scraped knees and turd sandwiches I had to eat, and you know, and then like reading some books and going to church and really like listening to these you know, men and women up there read from this book that's 2,000 years old, but it kind of has application now. And I always thought, like, why in the fuck would Jesus say, you know, somebody hits you, turn the other cheek? But now as an older guy, I'm like, actually, it's kind of better sometimes to not like pay it back. Sometimes it's better just to eat it and whatever. But there's this principle that it says God causes all things to work together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose, his plan. Now, you can really myopically look at that as a Christian and say, well, it's this about Christianity. But first principles, you're giving out love, you're giving out grace, you're giving out kindness, you're giving out thought, intention, all these things. And then God, whatever God is causing it to work together for your good and beyond your wildest imagination. Like, you couldn't have envisioned that client led to this here. You just had to give away, knowing that, hey, it's going to get paid back to me.
Yep.
Like, how tight is that you know, came together that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I've seen it happen a lot of times now, and I just trust the process on all of it. Like, and that definitely comes with, I think, maturity in business and entrepreneurship. Though, is realizing that there's a longer and bigger picture to stuff like that.
Universe is abundant.
Yep.
That's how I look at it, right? It's not. We've talked about this earlier, but if you are so self-absorbed in a sense and thinking that I can't give anything out, right, then you're never going to be happy, even if you do accomplish a lot. Right? It's just, it leads to this life of misery and like almost paranoia, thinking that everyone is out to get you. And you know what? Sometimes people might screw you over. Right?
It'll happen.
I'm part of the leadership, kind of like a mastermind group where we meet once a month. And last month when I met with them, I was telling them like about my situation at work. I'm like, hey, I love it, but I have this other opportunity. What should I do? Should I switch? Blah, blah, blah. And they basically told me, just expect everyone that you do business with to screw you over, right? Just be cautious. Don't help, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's not the type of mindset I want to have.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's only going to lead to me not trusting anyone. And then, I don't know, like, have you guys ever ran into a situation where you've been burned by someone, and what was that like? And that didn't...
What did you learn? What lesson did you learn from the burn?
Yeah. I got a few situations where I've been burned pretty bad.
And we have a pretty shared experience with even the client.
Yeah,
We met
even
each other.
Yeah. I don't know how much detail I want to get into those
Well, not
situations,
detailed,
but I think Jake's had maybe one or two. I've definitely had my handful. There's always lessons learned from it, though, and you know, when I think back on those situations, I always am heated in the moment, and I'm like furious and mad, and like I probably want to go
Punch something.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah, to put it in the lightest of terms.
Exactly.
And
Punch something.
but then when when the storm is moved through and like I am actually like calm and like can think through things, I always am like, you know what? This is my fault no matter what. I'm taking ownership of this. Like this is my life. This wouldn't have happened if I wasn't there. This wasn't my company. Like I have to own this all the way through. And where did I mess up?
Right.
And so then it's like, okay, well, didn't have a contract, or this wasn't in the contract, or this wasn't specific, or I didn't set the expectation, or I should have done this. Like, and then I implement those things going forward, and it's like
Makes
all
you
right,
better.
makes me better.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Once the storm
Yeah.
is cooled
Yeah.
off
Well,
and everything.
There's
but,
a lesson in everything, right? In the
Yeah.
good and the bad. My one of my mentors, when I've been doing sales for 5-6 years now, and man, like going out, like I started sales in door to door, right?
Yep.
Just going door to door, knocking, and interrupting people's day, and
Hey, you want to buy something?
yeah. So like you don't have the best experience every
For
single
sure.
time. The highs are really high. You're making
Yeah.
a ton of money.
Yep.
You're just flying. People love you. Blah blah blah. The lows are really low, and you're knocking 120 doors a day, and then not getting a sale. Like, I would hate that, and I would get to me, and I would see some of my friends going out and sell 3 or 5 a day. I'm like, I'm better than them. You know, I'm like, I should be the one
Yep.
selling 5 a day
Yeah.
consistently. And then I spoke with him, and he said, you know, you have days where you sell,
Yep.
and then you have days when you learn, right? And I took that to my personal life, and like I really changed that up. And like now I look at it like I have days when I win, and I have days when I learn.
I like
And
that.
For me,
like that.
the days that I learn are actually more valuable
Yep.
because it allows me to have more days when I eventually will end up winning, right? So that's been probably one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn, and it allowed me to just focus on what's within my control, like you said, and then just do better going forward.
Yeah.
Now, I do kind of want to pivot the conversation a little bit to really like the early days,
Okay.
right? With us, with humans next door, it's about the human. It's about what's in your heart, your journey, what led you to here. So obviously, Jake, you said you're from Alabama. You're from St. Louis.
Yep.
You mentioned that it wasn't very like, you know, you didn't dream to from a young age to open up a studio, right? And you know, run a media company. At what point did you guys realize like that's what you want to do?
You want to go first?
Sure.
Go for it.
So I was, I was originally supposed to go to college for mechanical engineering. I kind of tested like 99th percentile in three-dimensional thinking.
Wow.
They were like,
Nice.
architect or engineer.
Yeah.
And right
All
before I
this
went to
makes sense
college,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, I don't want to sit behind a computer all day. So
Yeah.
I want to go into business and have relationships with people, you know, that kind of thing. So it was probably halfway through college. I guess I grew up playing drums. I always had a creative side. It's hard to have a drum set in a dorm room. They
Yeah.
frown upon that kind of thing.
They're kind of big, kind of loud.
Yeah.
Just a little
yeah.
bit.
So I needed a creative outlet. My dad had been a photographer his entire life, but kind of got back into it, which kind of got me into it because I saw, you know, what he was doing, some of the photos he was taking, and I was like, that's cool. That's creative. Like, I need a hobby other
Yeah.
than drinking
Yeah.
in college. So I kind of picked that up and started shooting my buddies' bands at bars and stuff like that. And that pivoted to shooting events and stuff like that. And eventually, photography wasn't enough for me. I wanted more creativity, and, you know, video kind of hit that. It's more intricate in my opinion. There's a lot more that goes into post-production and stuff like that. So kind of did the same thing with videography there. And then,
And this was in college.
yes. And then I was cutting my teeth by shooting these events for free and kind of making my own little videos to post on social media until people started offering to pay me to come shoot promotional stuff like bars and local businesses in Tuscaloosa. And that's kind of where it clicked for me. And I was like, I can make money doing this. And I don't know if I want to work for someone else out of college, and I don't think I'd be good. I'm too hard-headed to.
Yeah.
So
Some people are not meant to be employees, dude. You know?
yeah, I mean, college kind of. I think that's why I wasn't good at college. They tell you how to think. They
Yeah.
don't let you think for yourself. I think
Yeah.
they kind of groom and this might be controversial, but I think they kind of groom people to be employees and to be followers.
And that's what society wants, right? Because you
Yeah.
do need that, majority group of people to
Yeah.
live the 9 to 5 lifestyle, and that's okay. I listened to Joe Rogan recently where he talks about how 9 to 5 is the worst thing ever. And for some people it is, including myself, which is why news will come out next month that I have left my previous job to go back to doing door-to-door sales and manage a team and do solar. So that was like the big reason for me, is I realized I'm just not meant for that. Right? I can't succeed no matter the amount of opportunities and chances that my bosses give me, just because within me I just can't do it. Right? I can't fully commit to that. So I agree with you completely. However, we do still need those people because that's the backbone of our society. So I don't want to completely put that down.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some people need that structure, and they're more
Yeah.
comfortable
sure.
with that kind of system. I think
sure.
most people are,
And-
and security too.
Yeah, I think
One
a lot
thing-
of it's security driven, and like there's a lot of people I know, and it's like it's security for them, and
It's
Yeah.
safe, and that's
there's
okay.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, it's like
That's what works for you.
As long as you are happy,
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yeah, as long as you're able to live a relatively good life and give good away, you're not there are some people who are employees who are just bitter assholes that they need to change their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their fucking manager.
Yeah.
So we met right downtown over here working at Trinkai, which ended up being Cision, and we worked in an office, but it was all these like stand up, raise up desks, and it was
Yeah.
like pods, teams of like 6 or 8 people. I had one of my biggest pet peeves. Food noises, somebody smacking, whatever. And I had this guy who was next to me chewing on ice. Chewing
That'd
on
drive
ice.
me
And I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. You know?
That would
Like,
drive me nuts.
some people if you are meant to be an employee, like some people, they still need the right team, the right job, the right whatever. So we're definitely not putting it down, because my mom, she's worked at HEB for as long as I've been alive, dude. Like, we wouldn't have all the prices in front of us to see what stuff costs if it wasn't for people like my mom.
For
We
sure.
need people like my mom doing those things, dude.
For sure.
So, but also we need people like my mom to not be super burnt out and
Which is a real thing.
hating their lives,
So we
and
need to pay them more and give them a better lifestyle, which is a whole other
Oof,
conversation.
yeah.
Right? I will say, like, one thing that I struggle with deep down is, I'm a foreigner. I came as a refugee from a country called Uzbekistan. I don't know if
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that was 2007. Moved over. And
Holy
my
crap.
parents are amazing people.
fluent
right?
Russian.
They, yeah,
All right.
a lot of little surprises. I'm also a gymnast. No, I'm kidding.
Fire juggler, right?
I ride a bear to
I
work.
work at MI6, and
Shh, we don't talk about it. So, but like foreign parents, they have different expectations compared to American parents, which is fine. Neither is good or bad. But one of the expectations with foreign parents is like you do whatever you have to do so that you can live the life that you want to live.
Yep.
Right. So my dad was a doctor in Uzbekistan. My mom was the biggest music producer there that did concerts for people like full stadiums, like 20, 30, 50,000 people, right?
Wow.
They left everything just to the politics and everything that was going on, had to leave it behind.
Wasn't your dad like super high level doctor? Like, wasn't he recruited to go to Afghanistan school or something?
So when my dad was graduating from his school in Afghanistan, 5 people from Afghanistan got picked to go study in USSR.
Oh, wow.
Medicine. Not knowing the Russian language, he went, finished top of his class, got the red diploma. The guy's a genius. I don't know what happened to me. So he would. I remember I was in school, like just reading the anatomy and just struggling after 5-6 hours trying to learn this stuff. He was walking by, just listing off all the nerves. I was like, "How do you know this?
Yeah.
I can't get it." Anyway, so the point that I'm trying to make is they left all of that lifestyle. They came in to clean shit from the toilets, working night hours at Target, or clean up after people, carrying plates and stuff, because that's what they had to do to live here so that they can live outside of work.
Yep.
So the work is not important. Like, it's whatever makes you money. But on the other side of it, I have Alan Watts. I don't know if you guys know him, the British philosopher.
I'm not familiar, but
You probably would recognize his name, his
The
voice.
voice.
He's got
Okay,
this
okay.
Yeah.
voice.
He's
Yeah.
one of the most well-known modern-day philosophers.
Okay.
Yeah, Alan
I'm
Watts
sure
is
I've heard
tight.
of him,
You've
though.
heard of him
Yeah.
for sure.
He talks about doing what you love and not thinking about money, because if you love what you do,
Yep.
money will come.
100%.
In your situation, all I heard was with engineering, that was not a good fit for you. So you went to make your own path and build your own legacy, control of your own destiny, so to speak. And then, despite not knowing if you're going to make money from it, and that led you to success. So, like, are you happy with that decision?
Yeah, I'm extremely happy with it. I'm very happy I'm not a mechanical engineer. Probably still be in Huntsville, Alabama, because that's where all of them live. But
Yeah.
I mean, I love what I do, and the amount of versatility I have. I've always been super ADHD, so the amount of different things we get to shoot and opportunities that come up is, I feel like it, allows me to be who I am and not feel like I'm stuck in this box. You can almost do anything in this industry. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Very
talking
true.
about it. Porn shoots.
Yeah. That's right. Right next door, OnlyFans.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
No.
No, we're just kidding.
Just kidding.
No, that's amazing. But like, what about you? Obviously, like you said, the film and stuff, your first job.
Yeah.
At that point, you just knew like that's what you're gonna do for the rest of your life.
I think I knew earlier on than that. Like,
Really?
Yeah. Like I knew I was gonna be entrepreneur like super young.
Because that was 14 you talked about. What was super young?
Well, super young was me like hustling, like having a lemonade. I was that entrepreneur.
Hell yeah,
like, no
dude.
shit. Like I would set up the lemonade stand every single weekend on the corner in the neighborhood, and it would be like me and my buddy, and we'd just sell lemonade, and then, that turned into what, like being Boy Scouts.
Real
and stuff.
quick.
Yeah.
What was the most you ever made at a lemonade stand on a weekend?
Shit, I don't even remember. I don't know if I can. I remember this. I remember we had this really well-off neighbor, and every time that I had the lemonade stand up, they'd always give me a $20 bill for the
Nice,
glass.
okay.
And I'd watch them drive off and pitch it.
Nice.
And I was just like, well, I made $20.
Whatever.
So at minimum, I was making $20 a weekend.
That's so tight.
Yeah.
More than I make.
Honestly, I'd like to go back and try that lemonade and see how well it was.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was, that during the summers, and then it was Boy Scouts and like selling the popcorn tins
Yeah.
door to door. And then, during the winter, it was shoveling snow for the neighbors' driveways. And then during
Hustler, man.
hustling and like cutting grass for the neighbors. Like it was always me hustling. Like I just loved money from a young age. And
Yeah.
I think that came from like honestly video games and like playing like Grand Theft Auto and like, like just seeing like just always trying to like increase the money there and just like being a badass in
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, but then also playing like Need for Speed. And I think that's where it clicked for me, where it's like I really like these cars and going fast and like souping them up in the game. And I'm just like, damn, I'm gonna need a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, and I'm like, man, this is like play money in Grand Theft Auto and Need for Speed, but like I want this life. Like,
Yeah.
like I want that. And so that's where it really all started for me. And I even knew like, I think like probably around like high school area, and that's when I picked up my first camera. I knew at that point like my favorite animal was kangaroo, and like no matter what company I was going to start, there was always going to be the kangaroo logo there. And my obsession with Australia started in like 6th grade, whenever there was like this like kind of field trip thing to go over to Australia for 2 weeks, but it was like super expensive, and my parents were like, no, we're not paying for
I'm
that.
not paying
Like,
$2,500 for that.
yeah. Oh, and I think it was like even 10 grand back
Oh my
then.
God.
So like
You did live there though, right?
I did live there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, but that's where like, if we go really far back, because you want to know about the childhood,
dude.
like,
Yeah.
that's where it started. Like the kangaroo was always my favorite animal. Like hustling, doing business was always just like part of my blood. And when I turned 14, picked up the camera, started working at STL Digital. 17, that's whenever I started like my first photography business, like made $30,000 that year.
Oh yeah.
That to me was like, I was like, yeah, I got
Yeah.
this. Like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I love this shit.
Mm.
And watching the H&R Block guy's reaction, like me doing my taxes that year, he's like, you're 17, you made 30,000. I'm like, yeah, like, is that a lot or a little? And he's like, you just made more than like half of the U.S. And I'm like, this ain't shit. Like,
Yeah.
like not to be like,
You don't know
cocky or
what kind of
anything.
car this could buy. This is nothing.
Yeah,
You know?
well, dude, I bought 3 street bikes, man. Like
Okay.
I had bought in like 3 different street bikes. Like, I was definitely Mr. Badass in high
Yeah.
school, rolling up on my motorcycle.
So let me ask you this: did you grow up wealthy, or was your family like not super well off? Because I feel like that plays a lot.
It
And
really
Yeah.
does.
We like just regular family, like not like super wealthy, well off, not dirt poor. I would just say like, like just average.
What kind of vehicle did your parents drive?
Yeah, my mom drove the Honda Odyssey minivan.
Hell
and then-
yeah.
And then my dad had the Honda Accord, and then my first car was the Honda. It was like a 2001 Honda Civic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
so that is the average American family.
Yeah,
When you
dude.
think it, like if
Yeah.
I imagine like that's what
Yep.
it is. Any siblings? I'm guessing there is because of the minivan.
Yeah, younger sister. She's 2 years younger than me. So, yeah, it was always like competing with her too. So, because she was always the very like studious, straight A one, like never in trouble. Like, I was always in trouble, and so like, I'd say, not to compare, but I'm definitely winning now as a sibling.
Yeah.
But like that's a lot. That was a lot of my driving force growing up, was always trying to be like better than my sister and
Yeah.
stuff, and like.
And I'm sure that pushed her as well too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because
And
it's you need that.
yep,
Do
for sure.
you guys have a good relationship, or is it
Yeah.
like contentious?
Now it's a good relationship. Growing up, like it was like contentious, competitive, because like
Yeah.
she played soccer, I played soccer, and like
Okay.
it was very very competitive household. Like dad was competitive, my sister was like very very competitive at
That's
everything.
probably like that is the thing then. So it wasn't that your parents had money. It was that you guys had a lot. It's like a healthy dose of competition.
Yep.
And so you're striving all the time.
Yep.
So if I'm striving over there and I'm getting success, why would I not strive over here?
Yep.
A lot of people don't have that. So my wife's sister and brother-in-law, he was going to go to college playing soccer. Some things happened and he ended up getting out, but overwhelmingly competitive, like ridiculously competitive.
Yeah.
And he instilled that into his son. And we all were like, dude, it's too much. Like you're going a little bit too hard probably. And maybe he was. I think he's even said, I probably was going a little bit too hard. However, the kid that my nephew is now on the soccer field and just the confidence that he has in
Yeah.
life because of all of that success that he had on the soccer field that he wouldn't have had
Yep.
if his dad wasn't super competitive and training him
Yep.
to compete.
Yep.
It's a big deal.
I feel the same way. I honestly, because soccer, that's what it was for me. Like it was playing like grade school, high school, select teams, like, probably could have gone and played college longer and stuff like that. But,
But you don't make
just-
any money.
I didn't want
That's why I love soccer too.
Yeah, it just like I knew like the road to be a pro and have that kind of financial success was going to be way way harder of a road than me being an entrepreneur, and that's why I didn't pursue that in college. But I think I kind of like got lost in the sauce a little bit from like graduating high school to like college and then like working at Amazon, because I just didn't really, it was so like this instilled in me, like go to college, go get the corporate job and
Right.
like be happy and stuff. And so like, I picked the hardest major that I could do. I double majored in economics and finance and then specialized in portfolio analysis. And I'm like, great, I'm going to crush this. And then I'm going to go work on Wall Street and make a dick ton of fucking money, but before I could even graduate, like Amazon recruited me out like my junior year. And they're basically like, where do you want to live? Here's your 6-figure salary and here's a shit ton of stock. And it's like, dude, you're 22 years old and like you've got it. I'm 21 and I've got it like dialed in, locked in with Amazon now. And I'm going to get to move to Austin, Texas. And so to me, like, yeah, I did all that stuff and I ended up working in operations and like getting on their international finance team and like I had teams like 200, 300 people big, like working on international projects. I'm like flying first class everywhere
Damn,
around
dog.
the US, like traveling back and forth to Australia, managing North and South America, costs. Like I had a lot of success at Amazon and rose up really quick. But at the end of the day, like I'm, I tell people this, like I'm a shit employee, but I'm a hell of a fucking founder. And it's so true though, because I just did not like having to not answer to someone, because like that can come off the wrong way, and that's, I will answer to someone, but I didn't like the cap of money. It's just like, well, why am I busting my ass so much? It's like, cool, yeah, you're gonna give me like 10 more G's, like per rate, like per promotion. Yeah, you're gonna give me some more stuff.
How
But I'm
much
like,
are
I
you
want
making
more.
them? How much are you making them?
Yeah, exactly. And the last project I worked on for them, over the course of 5 years, was gonna save Amazon $200 million.
And how much they give you? 10 grand?
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I'm
like
where's
something
mine?
stupid. Yeah,
You
dude.
know, but like I'm grateful for it, and I don't want it to come off
course.
like I'm not grateful for that experience, because I definitely am. It's just like I automated myself out of a job, and at the end of the day, like I was just not happy flying in and out every single weekend, not really having a life. Like I put on a lot of weight, and that's when I went on that trip to Croatia, flew a drone, and captured a dope sunset, posted on Instagram. The Yacht Week marketing director finds it. She's like, hey, is this you? Our videographer didn't show up this week. Like, would you mind capturing content with your drone? And here's a brand new GoPro, and we'll get you into all the parties.
Yacht in Croatia?
Yeah.
Dude, my
Yeah.
friends were there like this past summer.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
I wanted to
where
go there.
Media Pouch was born.
Yeah.
So,
That
What a
is tight.
great story, bro. Holy cow.
and I took Molly that week, and that was like the first time that I had ever like done like Molly or anything like
That's
that.
amazing.
And I just had this like, I think it was just like going into that trip, I was just very like unfulfilled with life, and just like I'm like, man, like if I got to do this the rest of my life, like this is gonna fucking suck. Like I'm like, the money does not mean anything if you're not having fun.
Yeah,
And so like I'm just like rolling my balls off all week and capturing content and like all this other stuff, and I'm just like, everybody wants to be on this video, and so like we're getting in all the parties, and it was just, I left that week realizing like this is never going to work with Amazon, and I've got to go do my own thing. Like that's the only way I'm going to be happy, because now I see the value in creating content, and I want to have a media production company that has an adventure team, an automotive team, a real estate team. And I just started like envisioning all of it. And, I came back, gave myself 1 year to quit Amazon, because on the third year I'd get a lot of my stock, and all right, cool, get the stock, sell it, and then that'll fund my life for like 2 years to go do whatever, launch Media Pouch. And then that all happened. I left Amazon May 2019, moved to Australia for 5 months. Like
2019 at the cusp of COVID.
COVID.
Right?
Well, so COVID came
The
right,
following year.
right, COVID hit right at like Jan, Feb. Or
Yep.
it was like March, maybe Feb. It
So
depended where you were
okay,
at.
Everything shut down March
Yes.
in 2020.
Yep.
But it was trickling in September, October, November of 2019.
It was.
And some people heard about it, but most people didn't hear about it.
Yep.
I think you left in February and I left in March.
Yeah, and I stocked up in December.
Yeah.
People remember I was talking about it. We had this thing at Decision. They're like, hey, put a goal at the end of the year, like where do you want to travel to? As a
Travel
joke,
plan.
I put Wuhan. Right? So like, because
You really knew about it then.
yeah,
Holy shit.
because I was like, dude, like trust me, like
Something's
this
going
will
on.
this will happen in U.S. They're like, all right, bro, sure. You
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah.
Where's your tinfoil hat? Like.
Seriously.
Yeah, but it happened. So,
The fucking world shut
unhappy
down.
it happened, but kind of like, oh, I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and all of that success he has to thank Molly for.
Dude, and that's
Yep.
something that I can finally
Seriously.
freely
Yeah, bro.
talk about. And there's like some questions I want to ask you, to Jake, about your journey as well, leading
Siblings
up to it.
and stuff.
Now that I don't have this 9-to-5 job and don't have to worry about some of the things that I say, so psychedelics has been a life-changing thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like psychedelics allows you to break this outer shell that
Yeah.
you have on, And an analogy that I like to use is, you know how in video games you have the first level where
Yep.
you kind of go through the training,
Yep.
and once you get, collect all the coins or whatever you have to do, and then you finally get your, sword and a shield, and then you can go out to the second and third and fourth.
Yeah.
I feel like before I did psychedelics, I was stuck in that first level. Suddenly I do it, and now I'm much more empathetic. I can connect with people better.
Interesting.
There's this other side of me that unlocked, and I just leveled up as a person. And bro, it's all happened this past year.
Wow.
All of the changes that I experienced were, I think that to psychedelics, and it's all about the intention, how you do it as well, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's been I figured that kind of back you up on your experience as well.
Yeah. It's I hear a lot of that too, and I think for me, like what it really did was like it definitely didn't make me like more empathetic or like any of that stuff, but it broke down this like whatever wall or barrier that I was facing, like that was saying like you can't do this, or like you're gonna have to go across all these hurdles, and it just broke down the wall, and I just saw it so clear of like, here's my plan from A to Z, like, and this is what you gotta just go do.
Yeah.
And like this is how you're gonna live that life. And it broke down all those mental barriers for me. But I will say that I've done it a couple more times since then, but it wasn't I haven't had that same experience. Like I haven't had that like
Breathtaking aha.
yeah, vision, and like, you start so high with it and you get that, and then I like expect it on the other ones, and so it's like, for me it's like, how do I get that experience
Well-
again? Because it's like, is it the drug, was it the like just the
I-
place,
so-
like what was it about that whole thing that made me have that?
I can pretty much guarantee you that. So there are pressure release valves. You know about those,
Yeah.
right? There's too much pressure that has to be able to like off gas, otherwise it's going to explode.
Yeah.
You're ready to fucking explode.
Probably.
And then what happened is that was the pressure release valve, and then the facade of the way that your life was going to live and turn out the next 30, 50 years.
Yeah.
You were able to break through all that.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like that's where people talk about how they'll go and have an ayahuasca experience, and like their third one was the best one, and then like it's like they'll have some good ones
Yeah.
and then some not good, maybe not necessarily not good ones, but not as good.
Yeah.
And it's like who we are going into it
Yep.
matters so much. Like you said, our intention matters, but who we are. Like whenever I do MDMA with my wife, like our ego goes down.
That's got to be a really cool experience to do that with your
Bro,
wife, and like
it's
really get some like just no
Love.
ego. Yeah. Because that's all I will say that's what it always is for me. Like there is a bunch of love there and stuff. And that'd
Yeah.
be really cool to have that experience with your wife. That's so cool that you guys can do that together too.
Bro,
Like that sounds like a really cool loving relationship and marriage.
So our thing, and like we met in church. We're gonna release an episode, I think next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Dallas this coming week, but yeah, we're gonna release it this coming week. Yeah, sure.
And we talk about a little bit on there, but we, dude, living with another human being, even though they're your best friend and you love them, it's hard. It's so hard because like we stink, we're messy, we do different, like we do routines differently, all kinds of stuff, and over years and years and years of being together, even though you have a lot of love, there's still this like this built up like a bit of like resentment
yeah.
towards like the things that you're doing that interrupt my thing that I'm doing,
Yep.
or influence in a way that I don't like it or whatever. And so often as humans, we are guarded. So often we're not trusting. I can't trust you that I can open up to you and be 100% seen and loved and heard. I have to guard myself in some way. And whenever it's your partner, you hope that you don't have that, but naturally, instinctively you do, because guess what? You're a fucking human that has to survive.
Yep.
And even if that person doesn't survive, God forbid, you have to survive. There's this thing. So we have this protection mechanism. You get on that and it's like, holy shit, I see you
Yep.
through God's eyes, which is nothing but love
Yep.
and acceptance. And oh my God, I can't believe that I did that and it affected you that way. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And I couldn't have said, personally, me, Blake Andrews, I couldn't have done that and said that
Yep.
had I not had that psychedelic.
Yep.
Dude. And like, it's powerful.
It is powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
I agree with you on all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
This episode is brought to you by Pouch 6 Studios. Creating a podcast is easy. Creating a high quality podcast is a completely different story.
Whether you're just launching your podcast or you want to take your existing podcast to the next level, you need a studio. Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on building out a studio, why not rent a studio that will provide you with all the tools you need for a high quality production podcast?
Located in the heart of downtown Austin, Pouch 6 Studios offers high-end, all-in-one production services that include video and photo studio, video editing workstations, and the first ever smart and autonomous podcast studio that eliminates the need to hire videographers, live switchers, or video editors. Sound, light, microphones, every single fixture can be controlled with the tap of a tablet. All you need to do is show up.
Utilizing state-of-the-art equipment with the added benefit of having access to podcast and media gurus, Pouch 6 Studios has everything you need to turn your project into a reality.
If you're thinking about starting a podcast or want to take your existing podcast to the next level, then go to pouch6studios.com to learn about their services.
And use the code HUMANS50, that's HUMANS50, to get 50% off your first booking. Yeah, man, that's a freaking wild story. And thank you, Blake, for sharing your side, your experience with psychedelics. Obviously, we had a little bit of a psychedelics experience, but one person that we didn't get a chance to ask is Jake. So, Jake, I wanted to bring up, so I went on your Instagram, and I saw that you did, photos at Bonnaroo.
We did some video content at
Okay.
Bonnaroo, for Porter Robinson and Chris Lake. They're two.
Oh, yeah, I know those guys. Yeah, those small-time DJs, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty unheard of.
Yeah, just a little bit. So how did that happen? So what was your journey from the beginning to leading up to that? And like, how do you end up taking photos and videos for these huge DJs that I'm a huge fan of?
Yeah, so I guess we cut our teeth like in the music industry, and even like the first things that I shot and what got me into photography was concert photography. So we still do it now. Q6 Media does. We work with some country artists out of Nashville. Trey Lewis is probably the biggest artist we work with, but we've been consistently working with him for 1.5 to 2 years, something like that. So it's kind of, although we do a lot of corporate work in Austin because it pays the bills, we still like to go out and shoot those shows. And music festivals are a part of that. Occasionally we get to do it. The way that I got into Bonnaroo was through one of my buddies who's a big time photographer in the music industry. He shot for Kanye, and I think he shot Bonnaroo probably 10 times.
Damn.
Maybe not 10, but 5 plus.
Yeah.
A lot of those like concert photographer guys keep their wristbands, like their media wristbands, and put them on a carabiner, and he's just got like a huge.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's
he
nuts.
just, he shoots a ton of that. So he actually got the gig and added my services onto his contract because he strictly does photography, and brought me out to do the video pieces for those guys. But it was an incredible experience. I had a artist wristband, which meant I had access to anything and everything, and I could go in and out like doors that no one else had access to.
Come
I had
on.
catered food with all of the artists, like be sitting there and like, Tash Sultana or J. Cole or someone would just be sitting next to you or at the table next to you, eating the same food. We had access to like private lounges with, separate bars that are backstage. We didn't have to wait in line anywhere because we could just go backstage and then go, wherever
That's
we
so
needed
sick,
to be.
Yeah.
especially at a festival.
Yeah,
I
dude.
know.
And, like,
dude.
I watched.
Probably had cleaner bathrooms too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering why I didn't get invited to this. Where this was
I thought we were
collaborative
friends.
mindset. I thought.
I thought we were partners.
Well, it
Yeah.
was. I got brought on by
Yeah.
a different guy.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I was actually somewhere else that week, actually. But
But it was a lot of fun. I got to watch Millennium, like side stage.
Wow.
They had like huge pyrotechnics and stuff. I could feel the fire.
Oh shit.
From watching it, and then we'd also go watch it in the sound stage, which is where they mix all the audio, but it's like the best point to listen and to watch. But it's a huge gated off area where they have the tent kind of thing
in the middle.
And we could get into there and just like watch it, and everywhere like around the sound stage would be just packed shoulder to shoulder with people, and then we had like 15 square yards probably just to screw around and pretty much just shot 2 jobs and then got to experience Bonnaroo.
That's so
When you're shooting, by the way, like, are you able to like enjoy the music too, or is it you're just so focused on the job at hand that it's really like that's your main focus and you can't really enjoy the experience on its own?
I mean, I'd say that it adds like another layer onto enjoying the music. I mean, you're not as dialed into the music, but I mean, with those lighting setups and stuff like that, and you're closer, you have the best vantage point. And then when you're getting the shots and you see what it looks like, it's just, I don't know, it's a great feeling. You're like, fuck yeah, I got that. I can't wait to put it in post-production, slow it down, and like, you can kind of see the edit happening while you're shooting. So, it's probably the thing that I enjoy most with shooting.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to shoot. So, I mean, we don't make as much money there, but it's one of my passions. So, we'll take a little bit of a loss to go have experience.
Have experience, exactly.
Well, that's what life is about, and we're just talking about that, right? It's it can't just be all work. Like, you have to get enjoyment out of the work, and experiences like that is what pushes you to work harder than other projects that are still good but may not be as fun, and you have to have that balance.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was quickly going back to, like, you had said that your dad was a photographer, and that's where you kind of got a little bit into it, right?
Yeah, he's not a photographer by trade. It's one of his hobbies, but he's been taking photos since I think he was in college, and took a photography class. So that's kind of been an on and off thing for him his entire life. And when he got back into it, me and my dad have always kind of gotten the same hobbies at the same time, and that's how we bonded growing up. Like, we used to ride motorcycles and
Nice.
mountain biked all the time.
Nice.
We went camping, backpacking, stuff like that.
So nature is a big deal in your family.
It is
getting out into nature.
Yeah, definitely. And in high school, I was an avid outdoorsman.
Okay.
At one point, for a year, I was an avid climber. I went to either the climbing gym every day or the bluffs to do sport climbing routes. I used to mountain bike all the time. I've backpacked parts of the Appalachian Mountains.
Nice.
It's beautiful, right?
It is.
Oh my
I've
God.
learned how to whitewater kayak.
Okay.
Just a lot of that kind of anything that was like kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
that my mom didn't like.
Yeah.
That's
The adrenaline.
Yeah.
Do I have to sign a waiver? Yes, I'm in.
Yeah. We didn't sign waivers.
No,
Set up illegal repels and stuff that we weren't supposed to.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
I
You
love
and
that.
your dad? Or
My
just
dad
your
wasn't along for the more dangerous things.
Right.
And, my mom was like, "Don't tell me about any of this stuff until after you get back."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't want to stress out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with all of that, what has been like your favorite thing that you've done, like over the experiences, both through work and like over the last like 5 years? Do you have like one experience that really stands out?
I don't know, man. I'm not good at picking favorites. I think everything has been so different, and that's kind of like, I'm so ADHD that my mind just wants different experiences all the time, that it's hard to have a favorite, because everything was just, everything's been so different. Like,
Unique
building
in
the
their own way.
business is Seeing, helping people succeed in their businesses and growing my business and having people grow with me has been one of my favorite experiences, but that's kind of like an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, there's so many different moving pieces there.
Yeah.
There's
You're
like
also
the
25, dude. That's crazy how much
26.
you've done
Yeah.
in 25, 26 years. Same with you. How old are you, Ryan?
28.
28. Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm
Yeah,
28.
I'm getting the gray hairs.
Yeah. not as much as the gray hair.
I
But
I pluck them.
yeah. We forgot to ask siblings. So younger sister.
Yep.
Siblings.
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
I kind of grew up as the shithead.
Yeah. Shithead middle child.
I broke everything and, got into trouble and stuff like that. My brother's actually a mechanical engineer
Oh, okay.
in North Alabama. And then my sister's getting her PhD right now.
Wow.
So, I mean, we all grew up taking like AP classes.
Mm-hmm.
There was an
family's
engineering
badass.
program in our school. So me and my brother both went through our engineering program. I actually had an engineering internship in high school.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then just didn't go that route. But,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
we're glad you didn't go that route.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you paved your own way. And
You
let
know?
you here.
Yeah.
Help
Wouldn't
us
have met
out.
Jake, we may not even have the studio.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy. Well, and it was like it's sort of going to be corporate, on your
Yeah.
way to ish corporate, and obviously very, very, very capable, and very successful business of your own, that leads to like the joy. I'm looking back at this create, but I was looking for Pouch Six, but separate businesses, individually successful. Obviously, you guys like got partnered up with the phone call and all that kind of stuff. But Pouch Six Studios, I'm trying to say media, and it's not media, it's studios. But in Pouch Six Studios, where did that name come from?
Yeah, so Jake's company, video production company, is Q6 Media, and then my video production company is Media Pouch. And so even in our little group chat that we have in our text messages, it's always been like Q6 Pouch or something. And so we just like took Pouch and Six and put it together in Pouch Six Studios. So
Okay.
It rolls off the tongue.
yeah, it sounds nice. I'll say that. It's like they were meant to have a little date and marry.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. So I know like pouch comes from the story that you told us. What
Yep.
about Q6?
Yeah, so Q6 comes from quarter 6, which comes from 256, which is the area code in Huntsville, Alabama, where I met my original partner that we kind of started the brand together. It was before it was really a business, but he's one of the people that I used to shoot with for Q6 Media before it turned into like a full-time thing.
Nice.
So we wanted it to be tied to where we knew each other from, or I guess where a relationship started, without it being like explicitly tied to a certain area in the country. So most people don't know that unless they, ask about it specifically, and then we dive into it. But
Now everyone is gonna know.
Yeah, now we know. Now we know.
Which is why, like, whenever I was thinking, so I've had a ton of business ideas. Some, like, I started a nonprofit when I was in college that ended up not working out. A lot of other businesses that kind of came and went. And the big reason why I never went with like 904 in the name of it, or once I moved to Austin, like 512, because I was thinking about, I'm working on starting a supplement company. I was like, 512 something, right? But then you're kind of limited.
It's limiting.
Yeah, like if
Limiting.
you want to grow,
Yep.
which we all do,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
right? You gotta make sure it's kind of generic.
Yep.
Universal enough.
Well,
Yep.
universal. That's the word
Yeah.
that I'm looking for, because Pouch Six Studios is not generic.
Yep.
Well,
Exactly.
and I didn't like even until you had just said the thing that you had just said, the pouches because of the kangaroos.
Yep.
I didn't even like. I was still thinking just like a pouch that you put coins in. No, you put a
Baby
baby
pouch.
kangaroo. Yeah. Duh.
Kangaroo, favorite animal.
Yep.
Moved to Australia, needed to brand it there. That was part of. I had the same like internal conversation with myself. I'm just like I want it to be like media, and I want people to recognize that, but I don't want it to be limiting to like Australia or like Austin or whatever. And then it just hit me like, oh, pouch, like everything goes in the pouch, like
Yep.
kangaroos, Joey, and all that stuff. And I'm like, media pouch, like it'll be photos, like video, animation, like everything.
Perfect.
I love
Yeah,
that.
all encompassing.
So I know we've talked quite a bit about like obviously the successes, but I think what's really telling of someone of their humanity, a lot of times we learn more from their failures,
Yep.
right? So I'd love to ask both of you guys if you can pick like one failure that really springs to mind, like, hey, this thing happened, these are the details, this is how I overcame that and how I learned it. I truly feel like our audience and our listeners can learn a lot from it. So
Yeah.
so like, Ryan, if you want to start us off, like, what is one failure that you've had that you learned from?
I think it's been this year. Like a lot of people, I've been pretty quiet about it, but this year's been the most challenging year of my life. Like from personal and business and everything in between, like, the year started off basically like with getting hit with like a huge tax bill that like I did not forecast for from last year, and it's like, it was like 3 times the amount that I had put in away. And I'm like, holy fuck, like how am I gonna like pay this? Like this is like no small number. Like this is like fucking 70 G's. Like this is a lot of money. And like there was this brief period there where I'm just like kind of like shitting my pants, and like I'm like I might lose the company, like and then on the personal side, there's just been, I was in a relationship, and this is like ended, as of last week, and
Oh man.
like, but just going through that entire thing of like, long distance and then clashing heads and trying to make it work, but being an entrepreneur and like, being an entrepreneur, let alone having 2 companies and then, a relationship and trying to keep it all going together, super hard, and so like there's a lot of ups and downs on the personal side. There was a situation earlier this year where like it was a huge project and had a contractor that basically, stole the footage, held it hostage, and extorted myself and my client. And so like, there's legal team involved, police involved, like
Wow.
there's, I lost a lot of money, and then we've got the studio, and it's launching this thing and keeping Media Pouch going, and just making everything work. And it's not necessarily failures, but it's just been like a challenging year to where it's like, man, like this one just has been just like gut punch after gut punch after gut punch, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm ready for 2022 to be over and like get through this. And like but there's a lot of like good stuff that's come about from it too. But I think in terms of failure, what is the tax bill, right? That's me not planning, like not doing, like just not touching base with my accountant and tax person, syncing with them enough. The situation with the contractor, it's like, I really don't know what else I could have done there. That's just kind of you're just a shit person. And maybe, sure, I should have vetted you more and should have gone through that vetting process longer. But you live and you learn, right? So those are definitely my 2 big failures from this year.
But look at you didn't give up. And I think that's the biggest benefit of situations like that is, we talk about this book called Obstacle is the Way by my favorite for sure. Is he your favorite as well?
He's one of the favorites for sure. He's very up there. Ryan Holiday.
Ryan Holiday. He was in Bastrop.
I think I've heard of him.
Daily Stoic. He runs.
The name sounds really familiar.
Basically, he's the guy when it comes to stoicism in our like modern age.
Yeah.
He has this book called Obstacles the Way, and the gist of that book, and really the gist of Stoic philosophy, is looking at every situation as an opportunity.
Yep.
And making the most of it, because it's so easy to get knocked down and then just stay down and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go do something else.
Yep.
But persevering and finding solution through it, and really loving everything that happens to you. I have a tattoo that says Amor Fati, which means like loving your fate, right? Everything that happens, good or bad, it's beneficial for you. When good things happen, it makes you appreciate those good moments, right? You're celebrating them and cherish them in the moment, so you're not, going through life without giving credit to the work you've done and really being present in that second, in that day where you are succeeding.
Yeah.
But then when bad things happen, and if you truly love it, it's like, you know what, there's a lesson in there. Something is going on in my life that is eventually gonna end up working out, and I'm gonna learn from this, and I'm gonna apply it to that situation, right? So I don't know, man. I look at you and then your story for the past year, coming from all of those challenges, obstacles, finding your way, and then being here, starting this thing, dude. Fucking props to you, man. That's,
Yeah, bro.
That's huge.
I mean, it's just like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, just like, am I gonna quit?
You're gonna
like,
stop?
And then just like go back, like, cause I had this conversation with my dad, and we're like down there in the Dominican Republic, and I'm like crying and shit,
Yeah,
because
dude.
I'm like, man, Dad, like, I'm at my low. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of shit going bad, and like, I don't know what I did to deserve this, and like, but this is it. And he's just like, well, I guess you could always go back to Amazon. And I'm like, just that thought, I'm just like, I literally looked at him and my mom, and I'm just like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, never tell
Yeah.
me that I can go, like, never enable that. I'm like,
Yeah.
never fucking say that to me again.
Yeah.
And I love them to death, and I don't
course.
curse at them, but I'm just like, that to me, I'm like, never enable that. And but you just got to keep pushing it. And it's just like, I don't know, this will just be part it. I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like laughing, because I'm like, yeah, this will be a good story at some point in the year. And like, here we are now, I'm getting to tell the story. And like, it's crazy too, because like, yeah, I got that tax bill under control, because I just manifested that I needed a really big client to come in and pay it off. And that's what happened. Like, literally landed a fat project, and like, boom, all right, cool, taken care of, like, just how it works.
It'd be very interesting to hear how you
Manifested.
what did you do to manifest, because we have the guy that we talked about offline a little bit, Ryan Giles, producer for different podcasts, super successful in that world, but not known.
Yeah.
But in that world, it is like, manifesting and different things like that. Like you are the master of your destiny. Take
100%.
control. And he manifested his job that he got. He manifested, like, because he saw himself sitting in the podcast studio recording the guy.
Yep.
But he had his steps, which is like Joe Dispenza, I think.
Yep, Joe Dispenza.
Joe Dispenza. Like, he actually goes through certain steps, because our brain is a certain thing.
Yep.
It's a computer. Our eyes visualize, and we, if we can visualize ourselves doing something before, as if it had already happened, like it pulls it into reality,
I think that's what Molly taught me.
Mm-hmm.
I had that experience, I envisioned it, and then that's just how I think about things all the time now. I just like envision myself doing that thing. And I guess like in the mornings, like I journal and stuff like that, and that's part of like, daily affirmations, and
I love that.
Like who I am and who I want to be. And for me, it's a lot about, in that specific scenario, like, how am I going to pay this off? And I need this client. Well, okay, I need to manifest like who is this client, and like where are they, and what are they trying to do, and like who do I know that can connect me? And it's just starting the, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like just like hitting the ground running, and just like, I've got a serious fire underneath my ass. And it's not, it basically, I'm so dialed into that client that any other prospect or inquiry that comes in, don't want it. I'm like, nope, 10K is not going to cut it. Don't have time for you. Nope, 20K, no. I need 50K, like, to put a dent in this thing. So, but it's the same thing with like, how am I filming Lambos and helicopters and shit now? It's because I went there, and I rode in these things, and I felt them, and I touched them, and I sit there and I feel it, and like, it's all, that's part of manifestation for me, like just living that life and just like seeing yourself there. And so, I don't have a process for it. I just know, like, once I feel it and touch it and see it and like want it, then I manifest it.
Dude, this is like almost giving me shivers, because like, we felt that there's all this value you bring with the studio and the work and your experience and qualification on both of you guys. It's like, it just made sense. And then we are doing this podcast, and I'm getting to know you guys as Bonnaroo. Like, I love going to music festivals, so that was like a big thing. The soccer, you mentioned it, like a lot of synchronicity there. Not that it's not a popular sport. A lot of people have played it.
It's the world's biggest sport.
But all of that, and then we're talked about psychedelics and manifestation. I was like, man, this is such a great fit.
For sure.
For Pouch 6 Studios and Humans Nextdoor to come together, because it's meant to be, bro. Like, it's all these things. We're heading in the right direction, so I love to hear it, man. We're all about manifesting, and we kind of manifested all of this.
Yeah, you guys definitely did. Jake, what are your? I'm curious to hear what your failures are.
That's right.
One that
That's right.
There's a lot of them, but I guess I'll just go into one failure just because it came to mind. For the first time ever, we delivered a video to where it couldn't be fixed. They were just like, the client wasn't happy with it. The actors, didn't cut it during the shoot. It was just unusable. That's never happened before. And that was a huge blow, I guess, to my ego when it came to, what we create for people. And this is the third video that we shot for this client, broadcast TV ads, as well as socials and stuff like that. And the only way I could think to fix that was just to re-script the entire thing, whole new concept, pay the actors out of pocket, new actors, get the video reshot and deliver it and make sure that they were happy with it. And we ended up executing there. It wasn't fun to to do, but at the end of the day, going back to being very client facing, we felt that it was the right thing to do, and that's what we did. They ended up being happy with the product, and
Nice.
We continue to work with them. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Like, what did you learn from that process, from that failure, or
Yeah.
what you consider a failure? What did you learn from that? What was your takeaway?
I think that there was definitely somewhat of a lack of preparation. I mean, you can only foresee so much, but I feel like with the right amount of preparation going into it and communication with the client, we could have completely dodged that problem and made sure that the shoot went smoothly, and we delivered something that they thought was good and could be used.
Mm-hmm.
So I think moving forward, we're definitely laying into pre-production a little more heavily and organization there.
I love that.
Good.
With one thing that I always think about is, we were talking about the opportunities in situations that are not ideal. How often, I don't know if this has happened to you guys, but sometimes, it's outside of your control, right? A battery can die in the camera, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember I had to submit a paper for my final for psychology when I was in college. I worked on that thing for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, I'm going to finally submit a paper ahead of time. Had it ready a week out. I wasn't super happy with it, but I was like, you know what, it is what it is. And right as I was getting close to like submitting it and finishing it up, the computer crashed and I couldn't get the file out. I've never seen anything. So a week out, I had to actually redo it. And, I was in this position. I was like, what do I do? Like, do I accept defeat? And it's like, all right, I guess I'm failing the class. Or do I actually, just do what's available to me? The only option was I'd redo it. And me redoing it, I picked a different topic. And it actually ended up working out way better, and I ended up getting an A on that paper, but just because of the experience that I had prior to it, right? The 2 weeks taught me how to research, and then I applied that for a new paper, and that ended up turning out much better. So sometimes those bad things can be really, really beneficial, and turns out maybe you actually did a much better shoot and product because of the fact that it never recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd the new one come out?
I think the new one, I think the script was better. I think the execution was better. I think it worked a lot better than the first one would have, but I'm kind of happy that we had to redo the concept and start from scratch.
Boom, there we go.
There
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
dude.
Point proven.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this is like an amazing studio, so thank you guys for setting it all up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I did want to mention, I know we're getting to the end of the podcast, is just from the cost perspective, because Blake and I have talked about
Sure.
quite a bit, and I'd love to get your input on it as well, and like why you guys decided to do it this way. If we try to do everything that you guys offer on our own, it would cost us probably like $10K a month, right?
Probably.
Right, just like hiring the people that will automatically switch everything for us,
Yeah.
the post-production, the advice, the consulting that we are getting from you guys, the space, the equipment. I mean, it's a big investment that a person has to make. But you guys are charging
A fraction of that.
Fraction,
Yep.
right? So
And it's membership based. It's like
Yeah.
it's community based.
yeah, honestly, it's kind of like an all-in-one, one-stop shop. Reminds me a lot of like Soho House. I don't know
Yep.
if you guys are familiar, right?
Soho House for studios.
Yeah, yeah.
There you
Dude,
go.
It's freaking sick, right? You can go to any city, but like, what was the reasoning behind it to set it up like this? Why not just charge way more?
I like people. I mean, really, like the concept for like the podcast studio, like where that even came from, was because Jake and I over the years have just edited and produced so many podcasts, and like there's just one very clear thing with podcasting, and it's like, yes, the money is there, but the amount of time it takes to edit is where it becomes not worth it. Where it's just like, this is too much work, to where it's just like not worth it. Because whether you're, you know, one man band and you're filming the podcast, like that means that you're not live switching it, which means you're gonna have to switch it on the back end in post production. And then, you know, say you do have a live switcher there, great, he's switching it, but now, and it's ready for post production, and that's going to make it easier. But then you had to pay that other person to be there live switching while you run the cameras,
And
right?
they have
So
to
it-
show up on time.
Exactly. There's
Bro.
humans involved in it, and you know, Jake and I were just like, it's like there's just got to be a better way to do this than like filming it, and then because filming it's easy, like recording it, it's easy, like it's editing that's hard, where it's just
Yeah.
like, all right, because for me, I know for every hour that we go out and film, that means 3 hours of editing. So if we filmed for 4 hours, then that means we're going to edit for 12 hours. So understanding that ratio really helps a lot, like on the post-production side in a sense. But, you know, when we put our heads together, it's like how do we just automate this and just like make it to where it's like, you don't have to have a videographer or editor here. Like it's literally just like the cameras are going and this thing can just switch without anybody doing it. And so then that's where Jake, you know, basically took open source code, built in functionality to it to switch and rotate between the cameras and microphones based on who's talking into it, right? So like, Freddie, if you're talking there, then the software knows like, oh, okay, like there was just like an audio dB level peak there, like I'm gonna cut the camera there. Now Ryan's talking, okay, back to Ryan. And then it's like, oh, all four of them are talking, okay, take the wide angle, because the functionality Jake's put in there, the software is already doing it. And so leading into price now, it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter what we want to charge, right? It doesn't matter if Jake and I want to charge $500 an hour for this stuff. You're only going to get paid what the market's going to pay you, right?
Yep.
So like if the market is telling us that the average rental price in Austin is $105 per hour, then that means that we need to be in line with that. And so that's really what we built the pricing on. And it's the same price as everybody in the market, right? With the 2 hour minimum, but it's like, hey,
Add value.
Yeah,
Add
it's
value
so much value.
proposition
It's
is
so
so
much
higher.
value that you cannot say no to this. Like it's the lighting that's included. It's the mics that are included. For the additional auto switching fee, you get all 3 cameras and the auto switching tech. Like it's just a stupid amount of value where it's just like anybody who comes across it on Peerspace or Avay or our website or Google, they're just like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Like why wouldn't I go to this studio?
Right.
But it's also like there's only one other podcast studio in Austin. So like that's our competition really, and like they're all the way up in the domain. So like nobody's going up there.
Do you
Sorry.
have Do you have any like numbers behind? Because I
Yeah.
tried doing the math in my head.
Yep.
And you know, I'd love to hear like your input.
Yeah.
Like what it would cost, like
Yep.
everything that you're offering.
So if you hired either Media Pouch or Q6 to like come in and film it and then edit it, like you're looking at probably like $750 to $1,000 an episode, especially this one. Like, you know, it's like 2 hours long. Definitely going to be a heavy lift on editing. You've got 3 cameras, and so if you're doing 4 podcasts a month, right, which means 1 per week, which is what the average podcaster is doing, then you're going to spend so much money either building out your studio, mini studio with your cameras, or hiring a company like ours to come in and do it, where like basically our ROI, if you do the 4 hour monthly membership with us, you'll save $20,000 a year. And that's just from like not hiring somebody. That's not even taking into consideration like the amount of stress that you're not stressing over it, like having to like produce all this stuff on your own, like setting everything up. Like everybody's time is worth different amounts, right? And so I don't even try to put a value on that. I just try to put the value on like, if you hired us, this is the cost. And if you just come in here and show up and do the auto switching with us, this is the cost. And it's going to save you $20,000 per year. And realistically, that 4-hour membership, that's $719 per month, right?
That's not bad at all.
So $719
4-hour membership.
4-hour membership. And if you're an efficient podcaster, that means you're doing one podcast per hour.
Us.
So
Not us, yeah.
you know, it's like at that point, 719 divided by 4, that's literally less than $200 per episode.
It's ridiculous.
For auto switching, cameras,
yeah.
auto video.
Yeah.
And that
Stupid cheap.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
price comparison didn't even include like what it would cost to have in-house studio built, right?
Yeah.
'Cause we
Yeah.
have, I mean, we built out a studio for a client in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think, you know, somewhere around $30,000, and then they have to rent out that space every month for
Yep.
maybe $2,000 a month.
Yep.
And then they still have to pay us for post-production work on
Mm-hmm.
top of that.
And that's still cheaper because we, from my last company, we were looking at a couple of different studio
Yes.
options. That's how I actually was connected to Ryan. The quotes that I got, the cheapest one besides what Ryan offered was at 70,000,
Yeah.
right? So the other one, the guy that did Joe Rogan's studio, we're in contact with him. That was the first person that I spoke with. I know him for some time. Great guy. The price was just
Yep.
ridiculous, and we still have to have someone actually switch for us, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was going to be good equipment, but we were looking at 110,000
Yep.
for that. For a 4-person studio, essentially what we're doing here,
Yep.
I'm like, dude, you can for
Yeah.
$100,000, dude, I can get Pouch 6 Studio to do a podcast for us for 10 years.
I was gonna say, how many years? Right.
Yeah.
It's like the studios get, I mean, you can go as little or as big with them that you want. And between Jake and I, we've probably built out about 15 studios across the country. And it's like, I've built some out for 5,000. You've got 30,000. I think the max I did was probably 25,000 on a studio. But like, yeah, it's expensive, and you better damn well be using that studio for it to make worth it
And
for your ROI.
And all you're doing is buying equipment. You're just buying stuff.
That's all it is.
You still have to invest
Yep.
so much of your time
Yep.
and energy and
Yep.
thought process to making all the shit work.
Yep.
And then talk about something that's interesting. And then, I mean, like, dude, there's so much time involved, not just like the equipment itself.
Yep.
Like, that's just the equipment.
Yep.
Then go learn how to run the shit.
Yep.
And
Film it.
space to put it in.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not even talking about, how you're going to store this thing, how you're going to edit it. Like, I'll bet, if I really do like a calculated ROI or like what the price difference is, it's probably way, way more.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if I take into consideration actual time of people and everything, like it's nuts. But that being said, that's why this podcast studios is having so much success. Like people are finding us either on Google or on PeerSpace or Avay or Gigster, whatever, and they see the space on there. They're like, this is really dope. And they honestly like inquire about the space just for the audio podcast. And then, I present to them like, hey, like if you guys need video or auto switching, we offer this. This is how it works. And almost like 9 out of 10 people on there are like, oh, wow, this is so much easier. And it's like, $200 an hour for the cameras and everything.
Right.
And I'm going to get my file immediately.
Right.
They're like, no brainer. So then we acquire them on PeerSpace. They come in, and then we end up signing them onto the memberships because they're like, wow, this is so seamless, so frictionless. And I can just come in here once a week, do my podcast, leave with the files. I don't have to worry about anything.
Well, and I saw you guys, I saw the studio in someone else's video. So it was recently, you guys know Liver King, right?
Yep.
Big old muscly Liver King.
Yep.
He's obviously not on steroids, per himself. But then, it's come out recently that he obviously has been taking steroids, like many people thought. But I saw, I forget the guy's name, but it's More Plates, More Dates was talking about Liver King, and he was referencing some guy, and it flashed to y'all studio.
Yep.
You guys have like some big name,
Yep.
stuff going on.
Yep.
You know?
One of our members, Zach, he filmed a lot. He's the one behind the whole Liver King story. Him and Chris.
Okay.
And so they did a lot of the filming here in the studio with it. And there was even one weekend where like one of the guys that they had, I forget his name, they like basically flew down from New York with his producer, and they were using the studio to like get it all set up and stuff. And I just remember like I'm like traveling and I'm like on the phone with this producer from New York, and he's just like what the fuck is my life right now?
Yeah,
like, I'm on the phone with this producer from New York. Like Jake and I like just thought that they were just doing a regular podcast interview, because Zach didn't tell us any of this stuff. Like it just came out, and then then I saw the clip of like, you know, Chris on Joe Rogan, and then Chris is talking about Zach, and then there's the clip of in the studio. I'm just like, whoa,
Pouch
I'm
Six,
like,
what?
yeah. So, and
that's crazy that it happened within such short amount of time.
it's nuts.
Yeah.
We've had some really big name people in here, like Cody Sanchez, Zach Tellender. We had Leon Hendricks in here. Like,
Wow.
just all these. I think the minimum like follower count that we've had in here has been like 35,000, and then the maximum was like, I mean Leon Hendricks, he had like 430 subs on YouTube. Mark Bell has like 550 on Instagram. Like, it's just like,
Wasn't Mark Bell in here?
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Fucking lift weights, Mark Bell?
yeah.
What?
Yeah, I did some push-ups with his.
No
yeah,
way.
Yeah,
That's
like
so tight.
it's crazy,
Bro.
Like every time, it just feels normal now.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Who else is coming up
who
in
else
the
is coming?
horizon? Yeah.
Well,
Anyone we know like
yeah,
that?
two
you
big
might
names.
mention?
Two
Really?
big names. We don't have dates yet, but at some point, we don't know the dates yet, but the studio will be used for 2 different interviews.
Come on, dude.
So
Nice,
that's all I can say
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's go, dude.
That's some
Holy cow,
success,
you got
dude.
one too, man.
That was bad.
Dude, it's Freddie's short arms.
Hey, I'll take the blame for that.
It's Freddie's short arms.
That's amazing. So, yeah, well,
Good
I
reporting.
guess just to kind of wrap up, because we've taken up so much of your
Thank you, guys.
time.
We're happy to do it, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This couldn't be done without you. And we're so excited for our partnership, for the work that we're going to do together.
2023.
And we're going to accomplish a lot, man. So, the way we like to finish off our podcast episodes is by asking one piece of advice that you can give to our listeners from the years of experience you've had. It could be from a book that you've read, a podcast, anything, but something that they can take away and input into their life to make their life better. So what would that one piece of advice and one piece of wisdom is?
It's a good one. I've definitely been asked that question before, and I feel like I've had an answer, and I feel like after this year my answer has probably changed, and it's more along the lines of, you know, just keep on, like, if you're curious about something, go explore it, and like if you like it, then follow it, and like, you know, don't be scared to take risks. Like, it's just, if you've got a feeling in your gut that's just like scary, like not good, like learn to trust it, that you're doing the right thing. Like, this is, if you're scared to do it and you're scared to embarrass yourself and everything, like for most people they're like, oh, I shouldn't do it then. But I've learned to embrace that feeling. Like, it's like with the studio, like it's like, yeah, it's like a big nut for rent and like all this equipment and all this time and all this money, and it's just like, it could have been so easy for me to follow that thing and listen to it and interpret it as I shouldn't do this thing. But instead I'm like, I've had that feeling so many times now where I'm like, I know that this thing, when it feels that way, that I need to go that way. So just listening to your gut, like when you uncover something new and you're just not sure about if you should do it, just do it. Just fucking do it, and it will pay off.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah. One of my mentors and a good friend of mine, his name is Doug Cartwright. He wrote this book called Holy Shit, We're Alive. It's #1 bestseller on Amazon, and just I highly recommend it. He talks a lot about his journey, even with psychedelics.
Interesting.
I was texting him this week. I was like, hey, dude, I quit my job.
Yeah.
I can't do 9 to 5 anymore. I'm going back to door-to-door sales. And he's like, that's amazing. How does that make you feel? One of the emotions that I said to him was fear. Like, I feel, there's a little bit of fear for sure. and he said fear is a great indicator that you're moving in the right direction. Right? So I love that. I think it applies so well with what you're saying. What about you, Jake? What is your one piece of wisdom you can share with us?
I think it's something that's said a lot, but I still don't think it's said enough. Just embrace failure and don't be afraid to fail. And we touched on that a little bit earlier in the episode, but you learn way more in shitty times and, eating dirt than you do when you're winning constantly. So, I mean, I think that's something that everyone needs to constantly keep in mind. Like, memento mori, remember you will win.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And learn from those failures.
Yep.
So find your creativity, find something that you are drawn to, and go after it.
Or just stumble upon it. Like
Yeah.
don't even have an intention with it. Like just stumble into something if you're just be curious.
Be curious, be curious, be curious.
And fail often, fail more. Don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That reminds me of one of our most recent podcast guests, my father-in-law, right? He's like, shit, man, if you try one of your dreams and it doesn't fail or it doesn't work, just you have another dream. It's like you have a deck of 52 cards.
Yeah.
You got 51 other dreams. Go do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't worry about failure. Just keep going.
Yep. I have it as a tattoo on my back. Actually.
really?
It says never a failure, always a lesson.
Hell yeah.
Like,
Look at that.
Hell
We're
yeah.
just talking about that.
Yep.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so freaking much. I feel like there's so much more to talk about, and this was our first video episode, first episode with 2 guests on at the same time, so a lot of learning on our end, and it's going to keep getting better. But just want to say thank you for the space,
Yes.
for helping us, for supporting us, and for being with us through this journey. So I'm really excited for what's to come. And thank you for our listeners. If you're looking for a podcast studio or a space where you can come in, do photo shoots, and have media gurus that will give you professional consulting that will support you on your journey and help you out, and you just want to be around good people, then Pouch 6 Studios is the place to be. We're going to include a link for all of this down below. I'm also going to include it in our Instagram account, so make sure you follow us. But yeah, thank you guys, and until next time.
yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Welcome to 2023, because that's when it's going to drop.
Peace.
Peace.
See you guys.
You've been listening to Humans Next Door. Thanks for checking out the show, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. If you have an idea or topic for the show, maybe you want to be on the show and you're interested in working with Freddie and Blake, visit us at humansnextdoor.com. See you next time on Humans Next Door.